Here's a 1600-word cinematic storytelling article for your YouTube video based on your given title and theme. In a small suburban supermarket tucked between the busy streets of a growing city, everyday life seemed to move on in the same predictable rhythm. Customers shuffled in and out with bags of groceries, employees worked their shifts, and managers kept the floor moving smoothly. But on one quiet afternoon, a single act of quiet sacrifice caught the eye of someone who wasn't just an ordinary shopper, nor an ordinary worker. He was the CEO of the company, disguised as a regular employee in his own store, and what he discovered that day would change not only the life of one cashier but the entire culture of his business forever. The story begins with Daniel Reed, a man in his late 40s. To the public, Daniel was a confident, wealthy CEO of a fast-growing supermarket chain that had outlets across the country. He was respected in the industry, admired for his success, and known for expanding the company from a small family business into a household name. Yet, behind the polished suits and boardroom meetings, Daniel often felt disconnected from the reality of the people who worked for him. Reports, charts, and quarterly reviews showed him numbers, but they never truly revealed the struggles or triumphs of the individuals behind those statistics. Daniel had heard stories about employees who went above and beyond, and about those struggling with low wages or difficult circumstances. He wanted to know for himself what it was really like to stand behind the cash register, to stack shelves, to mop the floors, and to live a day in the shoes of the people who powered his company. That's when he decided to go undercover. He dressed in simple jeans, a plain shirt, and wore an employee badge under a different name. His plan was simple: blend in, work as a regular employee for a week, and quietly observe. On his second day, while assigned to shadow the cashiers, Daniel noticed a young woman working quietly at one of the busiest counters. Her name tag read, Lena. She was in her late 20s, her uniform slightly worn, and her hair tied back in a practical bun. Lena moved quickly, scanning items with efficiency, greeting customers with a polite smile, and apologizing when things got delayed. But what struck Daniel most was not her speed or politeness, but the way she carried herself with a quiet resilience, as if she had the weight of the world on her shoulders but refused to let it show. During the lunch break, Daniel followed the others to the small break room. Employees grabbed sandwiches, snacks, or leftovers from home. But Lena quietly slipped out without getting anything. Curious, Daniel discreetly watched her. Instead of eating, she pulled a small baby bottle from her bag, filled it with formula, and gently rocked her infant in the corner of the room. Her baby, no more than a few months old, had been asleep in a carrier tucked behind the lockers, unnoticed by most. Daniel froze. A cashier bringing her baby to work. It was against company policy, and yet she seemed to have no other choice. Instead of taking her meal, Lena used her short break to feed her child. Her own stomach went empty, but she smiled softly at her baby, humming a lullaby under her breath as she fed her little one. It was a quiet, tender scene that most people would have overlooked. But for Daniel, it felt like a spotlight had been turned on. He approached her gently, pretending to be just another new worker. "You didn't grab anything to eat?" he asked casually. She shook her head, adjusting the baby in her arms. "I'm fine. He comes first. I can manage." Her words carried no bitterness, only love and determination. Yet Daniel noticed the dark circles under her eyes, the pale look of someone who skipped too many meals, and the silent exhaustion in her movements. Over the next few days, Daniel paid closer attention. Lena worked long hours, always with the same dedication. When customers were rude, she apologized softly. When mistakes happened, she fixed them quickly. But during every break, instead of sitting down to rest or eat, she would take out her baby, hold him close, and feed him. The other employees treated it as normal. Apparently, they had gotten used to her routine. Some even covered for her when managers weren't watching. One evening, after closing, Daniel found the courage to sit with her and ask about her life. Lena hesitated at first, but eventually, the story spilled out. She was a single mother. Her partner had left shortly after the baby was born, and her parents were too far away to help. Daycare was expensive, and she couldn't afford to leave the baby with anyone. Her wages barely covered rent, formula, and basic bills. Bringing her baby to work was never her plan, but when faced with choosing between quitting her job or risking disapproval from her managers, she quietly chose survival. "I know it's against the rules," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "But if I don't work, we don't eat. If I don't bring him, I can't pay someone to care for him. I don't have another option." Daniel sat in silence, her words hitting him harder than any corporate report ever had. He thought about the comfortable home he returned to every night, the warm meals, the private schools for his children, the security he had always taken for granted. And here was Lena, one of his own employees, skipping meals so her baby wouldn't go hungry. The undercover assignment was supposed to be temporary. He was supposed to return to his CEO office in a few days, shake hands with his board, and share polite insights. But now, Daniel felt a shift deep within him. He couldn't just walk away. The following week, when the undercover experiment ended, Daniel revealed his identity in a staff meeting. Employees gasped, managers stiffened, and whispers filled the room. But his focus wasn't on the surprise of his presence, it was on Lena. He called her forward gently, his tone respectful. "I want to share something I witnessed," Daniel began. "I saw one of our employees making sacrifices no one should have to make, skipping her meals so her child could be fed. That act of love and dedication touched me more than anything I've seen in this company. And it made me realize that as a leader, I haven't done enough." Lena stood frozen, clutching her baby, unsure of what was coming. Would she be fired for breaking the rules? Would she be reprimanded in front of everyone? Her heart raced as tears threatened to spill. But then Daniel smiled softly. "Lena, you are the kind of strength this company stands on. From today, your baby will have a safe space in our company daycare program, free of charge. And starting next month, we will be revising wages, childcare benefits, and meal allowances for all employees. No parent should ever have to choose between working and caring for their child. And no employee should have to go hungry to feed their family." The room erupted in applause. Some employees cried openly. Managers looked at one another in awe. And Lena, she broke down in tears, holding her baby close, whispering thank you over and over. But Daniel wasn't done. Privately, he also arranged a scholarship fund for Lena's child, ensuring that her baby would grow up with opportunities she had never dared to dream about. He didn't announce it to the public, it was a gift between him, her, and her child. News of the CEO's decision spread quickly through the company. Employees felt valued in a way they never had before. For the first time, Daniel wasn't just a name on a letterhead or a face on a magazine cover, he was a leader who had listened, seen, and acted. The undercover experiment had revealed more than inefficiencies, it had revealed humanity. Lena continued working, but her life changed. With support from the company, she was able to balance work and motherhood without fear. Her health improved, her confidence grew, and her gratitude shone through every smile at the cash register. Customers noticed the change, too, and often remarked on the warmth she radiated. For Daniel, the experience remained etched in his heart. He often thought back to that quiet moment in the break room, when a mother skipped her lunch just to feed her child. It was such a small act, easily ignored. Yet it had become the turning point in his leadership, and in many ways, his life. Years later, when Lena's child entered school, Daniel received a simple handwritten note: "Thank you for giving my mom hope. Because of you, I never went hungry." That note stayed framed on his desk, a reminder that success wasn't measured by profit margins alone, but by the lives touched along the way. This story is more than just about a CEO and a cashier. It's about compassion in unexpected places, about the quiet struggles hidden behind polite smiles, and about the power of noticing the small things that others overlook. Sometimes the greatest changes come not from boardroom strategies or grand announcements, but from simply paying attention to the silent sacrifices people make every day. And maybe, just maybe, if more leaders stepped out of their offices and walked among the people who built their companies, they would discover the same truth Daniel did, that the heart of every business is not its profits but its people. Would you like me to also make this script more dialogue-heavy, like a cinematic narration with conversations, so it feels even more emotional for YouTube voiceover?